Hey,
Okay.
guys, listen.
There we go. Okay.
Anytime. Okay, so like my order shows that it's Katie. Well, crap, y'all all changed. I was gonna say maybe we need like a way to say who's going to speak when. Okay, so like Battles, you're gonna have to go first. No, Michelle,
Okay.
you're gonna have to go first because you're Valentine. Oh my gosh, we're all bees.
Always.
Michelle, you're gonna have to go first, and then Battles, you're next, and then Bonds.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
So you just tell me when and I'll go.
All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. So just kind of introduce yourself and what your title or position is.
Okay, I'm Michelle Ballantyne. I'm 6th grade math teacher at Albertville Intermediate School.
I'm Miranda Battles. I am the assistant principal at Albertville Intermediate School.
And I'm Kelly Bonds. I'm the district instructional coach for reading, ELA, and social studies.
All right, so just to give a little bit of background as far as what our school situation looks like, because we used to be Evans Elementary, but we are now officially Albertville Intermediate School. So they're going to be kind of used interchangeably through this video because I know I will say it a lot too. So, and anybody can answer any of these questions at any time. There are a couple of questions that are specific to that'll either go to Ms. Bonds or Ms. Battles, but there's also several questions that ask for specific teacher input, and that is where Ms. Valentine will come in. So what type of curriculums do we currently have at Albertville Intermediate School as far as specifics? I know with social studies that we kind of look at our state standards and then we kind of branch out from there. Are there any specific curriculums that are grade levels or specific subjects follow currently?
We have StoryWorks through our reading classes. We also have Go Math through our math classes. We use I'm trying to
Studies
think.
Weeklies. It's
Studies Weeklies.
Miranda.
Yes. And then we have for our fifth grade language is different than our 6th grade language. Our 6th grade is Springboard, and then our 5th grade is StoryWorks. It's not it. It's the Red Book.
Well, we do have a ReadWorks, Miranda. You might be thinking of it. Like we do have a text. It is ReadWorks,
Yes.
but basically
Reading Street. It's Reading Street.
Reading Street, yes.
Yeah.
But I will say this, as far as like reading/literacy and ELA, it's almost become where you pull from all these different resources. You might have digital resources. I know, for instance, the instructional coach at AIS contacted me yesterday and wanted, it's called daily grammar practice. So times have changed from when we just had a grammar book, a math book, a lit book. We're pulling in all kinds of resources to make sure that we cover the standards.
All right. So as far as, it kind of goes off of what you were saying, but as far as being someone who is dealing with curriculum, Ms. Bonds, how do we maintain an integrated curriculum that keeps all students in rigorous and relevant academic challenges?
Okay, so I will say that for the most part, what we do is we make sure that we have very strategic and explicit instruction, but just like with all our, with our instances where we've had to, basically we've not had school since March the 16th?
13th. Yeah,
13th.
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. So basically there's a lot of discussion, there's a lot of communication about how we are going to ensure that our kids are still academically ready when they come to us. So we're talking about flex days, we're talking about planning days. I think the communication is huge. It's very important when we talk about, as far as like Dr. Sims to Miss Battles, all the way down to your instructional coach, about what resources we need in order to be, I guess, effective day one. We We talk about different digital resources, different print resources, different assessments. So I just think that overall we have to kind of look at what teachers are saying that they need to be the most effective in the classroom.
Okay, so that's a great segue to my next question, because it's about how either like our instructional coaches or even administration, how do we motivate, or how do y'all motivate teachers to keep to the standards? And the second part of the question is more for Miss Ballantyne, since she is in the classroom. So how, from instructional coach and administrative point of view, how do you lead and motivate teachers to stick to the state standards?
Okay, I'll take that first part. You know, basically throughout the district, whenever teachers plan together and whenever they submit their lesson plans to their administration or their, you know, instructional coaches, obviously you have to identify any activities, strategies, assessments to the state standards. So, I mean, realistically, there's not a lot of time to be doing anything that does not directly align with your standard. Now, when we're talking about all the standards that every course covers, you know, we all have reading standards, you know, speaking, listening, all those kinds of things, even when we talk about our WIDA standards. So, I mean, basically anything that happens in the classroom is going to be tied to a standard.
And I think we have good checks and balances when we turn in our lesson plans, you know, through the Google Classroom. We can see what standards have been covered and what hasn't. And I think that collaborative planning that we have, because we are blessed to have that, it allows everybody to kind of, as a group, look at all of those standards and see what would be best to be taught when. And it's a good planning tool to be able to do collaborative planning, but also when you have to turn it in and you can see it visibly, I think that's a good check and balance too.
All right, so what is the teacher's perspective on working toward these common goals, or like knowing that you have the support from instructional coaches and from administration? So how does it feel to be a teacher in the classroom and knowing that your administration and even past that are trying to work towards this common goal along with the classroom teacher?
Well, I agree with what Ms. Battle said and also Ms. Bonds, but I think it starts in the summer with our planning. When we plan in the summer, we get started with our pacing guide. So by building that pacing guide and seeing what we should teach when, and then looking at the assessments, and we take our assessments and start there. Okay, what do we have to assess? We're looking at our standards. We look at what we need to assess to make sure that these students are grasping those standards. So starting with your end in mind, then it's a lot easier to build those lessons and pull in those activities. And like Ms. Bond said, you do not have time for anything extra. You have to stick to those standards.
Absolutely.
I will add this too, Katie. We're very fortunate to have, you know, several different options for benchmark testing and progress monitoring. I know there's been a lot of discussion at the central office about being able to assess our students, you know, when they come back, because obviously they've had 5 months of this 5-month slide. So we have a system that has purchased, you know, Star 360, or we can use Scantron. So, you know, our whole goal is we can assess these students very quickly. We can find out the standards that overall they might be lacking, and you can identify those fairly quickly and then move forward.
All right. Well, that was actually one of my my next questions, as far as how do you assess instructional programs, activities, and materials. So we do utilize Star 360 and Scantron. So as far as making those curriculum decisions, how involved are teachers in selecting those curriculums? Do they give feedback if y'all introduce anything new? I know it's a little bit different with ELA and math because, you know, the social studies textbook, there's constantly being stuff added to it. So even something that was printed last year is technically out of date because there have been so many things to happen after that. So as far as, you know, selecting new curriculums and new programs and that sort of thing, I feel personally that teachers do have an incredible say in what, like as far as purchasing things. I know with the vocabulary thing. So if you had to choose like a new textbook or a new written curriculum, what kind of say do teachers have in that process?
We have a textbook committee. We have a textbook committee that meets, and we discuss the possibles that we could do, and then we make a decision based on what we think would be best for us.
Okay. So does that textbook committee go on to look at like other instructional programs, activities, and other materials, not just textbooks?
Yes, they use that. We can use online things like vocabulary and brain pop. Those types of things are also discussed.
Okay. So diagnostic tools that we use frequently, I know, is like the STAR 360 program and Scantron. Is there going to be
I will say this, Katie, MobiMax is something else that is a diagnostic program. Because I'm directly involved, Miss Valentine and I are directly involved in what is ordered, whether it be print materials / textbooks, or whether it be digital resources, as well as Miss Battles, we kind of talk together about what needs to be ordered. So like MobiMax is something that is a diagnostic program. We think it's been very successful at Evans / AIS. And so that's something that we've already purchased for next year. When you mentioned vocabulary, that's another digital resource. So what I will say this, I believe we take the lead from the teachers. I hear about resources, textbooks, studies weekly, scope, StoryWorks, and then we vet that to see if that's cost effective. We also get usage reports, and then that's how we determine, is that viable for us? Is that cost effective for us? So it's not from the district level, oh, well, the superintendent says we're going to have vocabulary and we're going to have brain pop. No, it's what you all say works best for your age level of students. And it's, you know, engaging for that age level of students.
Right. Which I'm so thankful because it's almost like, you know, you can come and see something new and it's like, oh, look, this is really cool and the kids really like it. And then it doesn't take a lot to get everybody else excited about it. And then, you know, not too long after that, it's like we have vocabulary and the kids really love vocabulary. I know I love it. So I really appreciate, you know, that Albertville City Schools takes into considerations what does and doesn't work in the classroom for sure. So as far as technology goes, how has the infusion of technology into classrooms impacted the curriculum in the classroom? So that part you can think about on for a second, Ms. Valentine, as at a district level and the school. So I guess it's really, each of you could answer one part of that question. So how has the infusion of technology impacted the curriculum overall in each level of our school system?
Do you want classroom first?
Sure.
Okay. We use Google Classroom, and I was so glad that we started using Google Classroom a couple of years ago, and we've started out with just assessments. We started out using it with just assessments, and then we kept bringing in more and more activities and lessons, and thankfully when we had to shut down this year, we already had that experience with Google Classroom, and the students had that experience, so they felt comfortable with it. So I think it was a lot easier transition than it would have been had we not had the technology on hand and been able
Right.
to use that over the last couple of years.
So how is technology infused like within our school overall?
Well, we also use Google Classroom for a lot as far as administration. We do the Google Classroom for the lesson plans. We use Google Classroom for problem solving team, for ELC. So there's lots of different things that you can utilize Google Classroom with, even at a school level, that makes everything much more organized, efficient.
And Katie, I'm gonna say this as far as like being able to use technology. You know, when I was in administration, you know, like assistant principal per se, and Miss Battles was one of the like beginning teachers to like implement Google Classroom. What we also found, not just for instruction, but for management, if Miss Battles had to be out for 2 or 3 days, her kids could continue on with the standards, with their lessons, because she was able to do videos. She was able to post any activities, any strategies. Kids could go on YouTube. And so we found that it actually became like almost seamless when we had teachers that had to be out. I will also say this. When you infuse technology in the right way, it helps teachers become more efficient, because you have ways to grade massive amounts of papers through Google Forms. You have ways to communicate. Overall, technology, and by far, it has allowed teachers to differentiate their instruction so much better, because depending on which site you're on, it's tailored, it's adaptive to the kids' strengths and weaknesses. So I would say that even in my career, in 26 years, it's allowed so much more. I'm going to say it's very efficient, and it allows us to meet the kids' needs much better.
I think too that kids are more engaged when you use technology. I think that it is a technological world, and that they just feel more comfortable that way.
I agree. So with that idea that we live in a technological world and we're always striving for student engagement, has technology and the transition to online virtual learning been a catalyst for curriculum changes? Nobody answer all at the same time.
Well, I mean, I think that when you are kind of pushed to use it, I think people become more accustomed to it, and they become more comfortable. I think that it makes it a definite option for more people, because they see the things that you can do with it. I think that sometimes people are afraid to like jump into technology in the classroom, but I think kind of pushing us that way, people will become more comfortable.
I agree with that. I think that it's even made me think more this summer about how could I use technology more in the classroom? What could I do? So it's made me think a little bit harder this time. Just, what if we had to do this again? How can I prepare my students for that?
And I can say, when I use technology, when I did have a Google Classroom from year to year, I could see the lessons that I had for this standard, and I could pull those little pieces and parts, and I could make things better. And so I feel like with technology in the Google Classroom, it just makes the teaching better, because you can pull from, well, I did this year and it really worked, but this really didn't. So I'll just pull this, and then I'll take that, and I'll make a better lesson. So I think it helps teachers and students.
Right, absolutely. So this is a question that I threw in just for fun because, you know, you hear a lot of things about what's going on in different school systems and just across the education world with everything going on with the virus. So how do you feel that curriculum will change going into the 2021 school year and even after this year? Because this year is going to be a total learning experience for everybody. So how do you think curriculum might change going into the school year?
Well, I'll answer first on the district level. As far as like curriculum is concerned, teachers are still going to be required to teach those standards that come down from the state. I mean, that's beyond our control. Now, what I do think that will change, Katie, is the delivery. I think the delivery of how we teach those standards is going to have to look different. I think that we are going to have to understand that we are going to have some face-to-face kids, and we will deliver that in our traditional way. And then I think we're going to have some kids who might need to be out for 10, 15 days. How are we going to instruct those kids? Because that's going to look different than what we did in the spring. In the spring, we were just trying to maintain. Okay. Now we've got to understand that we're going to have to move kids forward. So what's your delivery going to look like for those kids that might be out for 3 weeks? And then we're going to have those students who are just straight virtual learning. And that's definitely going to become a challenge. But no matter what, we still have to cover those state standards. It's going to be interesting for sure.
I know that, you know, in some cases that we've had in the past, we had teachers that would record lessons and it would be a day behind, but that would be posted for, you know, specific students that had a need. And then they learned and they would do the same assignments. So I'm wondering if possibly that might be an option where we had one class that was maybe set up so that they could do a Google Classroom for the whole grade. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting topic for sure, because, you know, things are always changing, and especially with this, it's made things change. Right. So it's interesting.
Absolutely.
I've had a lot of thoughts on that, on how to change the curriculum and how to, I guess, bring it up a notch. But I mean, I haven't solidified any thoughts on what I want to do. But I mean, I think it's definitely going to be more technology integrated, much more.
I'm part of a few groups that like teachers using Google Classroom, teachers using Bitmoji, you know, just teacher groups. And a lot of people talk about, you know, just relying on technology and the fact that there's just going to be like, that's just the direction that we're going to go. And they give a lot of really good ideas as far as how you can do like flipped lessons and that sort of thing. So I really think that Albertville City Schools, we're really equipped to meet that challenge as far as, you know, just the people that I work with at AIS. And I think just across the board that, you know, whatever challenges happen to come our way this year, that I think we will definitely be able to meet them with gusto. So I really appreciate y'all taking some time today and answering some questions for me. I have learned a lot, and I really appreciate y'all, like I said, taking the time, because I know it's summer and I have to make myself focus and sit down and do this, be in school mode for a second. So that's all I have for y'all, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
Thanks, Katie.
Thank you.
Thank you.